Danny?
Hi, Greg. Hi,
Hey,
Sam.
hey.
Well, first of all, I'm still absorbing and digesting all that goodness you just shared.
Oh, you're so sweet.
That was really wonderful. So,
Yeah.
my question actually has
Mhm.
to do with sulfur.
Okay.
And I have the Lovage sulfur or the Lovage body tonic, and I think it has sulfur in it. But my question is,
MSM, yeah, which is a kind of sulfur.
okay, so
Yeah.
I just discovered, I discovered sulfur in the form of a crystal, and when I saw it, I thought it was a lab grown piece because it was just so bright lemony
Oh,
yellow
yeah, they're
that
super
it
bright.
that
Yeah.
it looked so bright that I thought it
Mhm.
was candy. And then the next thing is I scanned to see if it was actually fake or if it was real,
Mhm.
and it's definitely real, and it looks like this big cluster, and the points are
Yeah.
super sharp, and it
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
like Big Bird's head, like like Big Bird's bright yellow. And I was really delighted, and when I asked what it was, she said it was sulfur, and I didn't even know that sulfur could exist.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you more about that using sulfur um in our body tonics. And it's going to sound strange, but I'm curious why I'm attracted to this.
Well, MSM, which is a type of sulfur, is something that is very cleansing to the body, but especially the joints, and it can break up things like scar tissue internally. So, we always talk about scar tissue like a cut or something on the skin, but sometimes we get fascial lesions in the like the fascia that hold up the organs or deeper close to the bone. Maybe some internal scarring that happened or a lesion that happened from mechanical misalignments and things. And so MSM is actually a great way to do that. It is very detoxifying to the joints. And so we use it like in the Lovage body tonic, and I put it in the orange healer body tonic. Because it deepens the purification that it does to the tissues and to the joints. And so I would say for the body, you use it for things like arthritis, for an injury, for fascial lesions, internal scarring, things of this nature. But like most times they use it for like arthritic conditions because it's so cleansing to the joints and to the tissues. Then if you look at it from the point of view of like using a crystal or a stone, it's very cleansing to the area, wherever you have it. And part of what sulfur does is, as a mineral, it condenses light. Like, so even if there's light in a particular area and you stick some crystalline sulfur in the area, the light that's coming in the area gets significantly more dense, right? So then that light is more efficient in whatever you're trying to use it for. And so you could put it on an altar, you could put it on an area that needed to be cleaned up. You could just put it through different places in the house, but just think of it as like it condenses the light and it increases the purification because the light coming in is purifying to the lower vibrational energies that are in a particular area. And so in in I don't know, I don't want to say ancient times because it was just like maybe even at the turn of the century. Part of what you wanted to do, like if there was a space that had like a bad situation happen, or like a bad event, a crime, some bad injury, or just bad things have happened, or the house was haunted, you would get a big hunk of sulfur. You would like put it on a stick or in a pan, and you would light that baby on fire, and it would purify the house. The house would smell like sulfur, but it would clean the house. And so back in the turn of the century, this is how they would deal with houses that they considered to be real haunted. Like when they had the, when people, what did they used to call those places where they weren't psych wards, but in the old days they called them something different. But it's like when people were so crazy that they would just send them somewhere.
Asylum.
Yeah, asylums. They used to burn this in asylums. Like when the asylum would shut down, people would go in and it's like just weird chaotic things would happen. And they're like, this land is not, this building is not usable. They would take a piece of sulfur and they would burn it, and all of a sudden it just became calm. And so back in my old feng shui days, I did burn some sulfur in a few people's houses. Let's just say it didn't go over well, because it stinks. And so I would burn a lot of incense afterwards. But when the house really needed to be cleaned up and like patterns broke in the house, sulfur worked, burning it like that. And I used to have a big collection of sulfur that was just for burning.
Was it
Using the
yellow?
crystals. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it's not as bright as the stuff that you're talking about, but I have a bunch of little pieces that are like what you're talking about that I used to wear them in a medicine bag on my heart just to intensify the light coming into the heart. But I don't know, I got off of it for a while. But any time you kind of scatter the sulfur in a particular area, you don't even have to leave it there for like super long periods of time. The light just starts coming in. And so you know say you're at work and you had a thing going on and there was an argument, and everybody goes off to their office cubicles and you're like, but I'm still sitting in the cubicle where we all had the argument. You drop the sulfur there and like within an hour or two, you can't even feel it anymore. If there's like a house where I'll use this one example. So like I was feng shuiing this house and was on this is many years ago. It was on this beautiful, beautiful lake. It just had this amazing view. The feng shui of the house was horrible, but it like they got hooked in by the view, right? And so I'm walking around the house and I'm evaluating it and I'm talking to the wife and everything. And as I'm walking through the house, I'm noticing that, you know, there's different bedrooms that look lived in, but she kept saying that it was just her and her husband. And I go, well, do you guys have kids? And they go, yeah, but they're off at college. And I go, but they're back or something? Because I mean, it looked lived in. And she's like, no. And so I kept asking questions and she goes, yeah, it was really weird. My husband and I, we sleep in separate bedrooms. And I was like, And I go, he snores? And she goes, no. And I go, you guys been fighting? And she's like, no. She goes, it was really weird. One night we were watching a movie and we just got up and went to separate bedrooms. And I go, well, when you guys discussed it, what was the discussion? She goes, we never have discussed it. I go, well, how long has it been going on? And she goes, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I was like, you guys have been sleeping in separate bedrooms for 3 or 4 years and you never discussed it? And she goes, no. And I'm thinking, I was like, that's odd. I mean, things can happen, but like, that's odd. And then she goes, the really weird thing is the people that we bought the house from, they slept in separate bedrooms as well. And I was like, really? So I go, same bedrooms? And they go, yeah. And I was like, huh, okay. And she goes, come to think of it, the people they bought it from, they mentioned that they slept in separate bedrooms as well. So it wasn't that there was some big diabolical thing. There was an energy pattern in the house. And it's like, you know, if you've ever driven in snow and you're trying to go in some of the snow where it's maybe a little bit fresh, and then you get hooked into the track, and then whatever that person did, you're doing now, right? And if they spun out a little bit, you're going to spin out a little bit too, because you're in the track, right? So what happened was there was this pattern in the house that was very ingrained. I suspect that the first couple that did it, it was really emotionally charged why they did it. They were probably fighting or something like that. And then everybody else just kind of did it. And so, I do my like little fire burn, and I do incense, and I'm spraying oils. And she goes, it got better. We slept together one night or two nights, but then we went back, and I was like, what's it going to take? Because I mean, doing a fire burn is massive. Like that usually breaks things up. So the thing that I did is I took a couple of handfuls of sulfur, I just all the different rooms in the house, and boom, they started sleeping in the same bedroom within a night or two. And I just left them there for like a month and completely broke the pattern.
Did you
You know?
burn the
No,
sulfur? You just threw it.
I was about to. Like, honestly, to be honest with you, I was thinking we're gonna have to burn it. Like, I was prepping them like it's gonna stink. You'll get over it. We'll do some things with oils and things to cover up the smell. But first, let's try this. I just thought we'll exhaust everything before I turn the house into rotten eggs. And so the just scat, I had a bunch of big pieces though. Scattered them through the house. It worked like a charm. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible because I'm reading about the sulfur, the energetic properties, and it says exactly what you did, but it also talks about breaking down patterns within one's like mental and emotional
Oh yeah, I would agree.
aspects as well,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
This
It's
kind of like a hidden
very
gem.
it's very purifying. Back in the old days when we would talk about doing these inner practices and things, we use sulfur a lot. But it's kind of like what you said. It was a different time back then. Like, this is going to sound weird, but people are more overstimulated now than they were 30 or 40 years ago, and then change it to 100 years ago when they were really doing this practice. We didn't have the stimulation from social media and so many people. It was a different time. The brains worked a little bit different, not massively, but a little bit. The sulfur is going to cause change, and change is already built into society. So a lot of times you're doing more like soothing, like trauma, anxiety, fear kind of stuff, rather than trying to stimulate change. Back in the day, you were trying to stimulate change because things were stagnant, and you were at the beginning of this new change or shift, this new growth. And so it's one of those things that it's like the right time, the right place. I wouldn't say that I'd throw it out to everybody to have like a piece of jewelry or to put it on the altar or anything. But if you're trying to shift something, it works like that. And meteorites, by the way, meteorites help bring about shift and change as well. And so, like in the body tonics, you're not going to hit that kind of change in the mind and the emotions. It's just causing a change in the body of like how that joint's functioning. Like, it's cleaning the joint up so that the joint changes and functions better. That's about all you're kind of getting from the MSM. If there's fascial lesions and scar tissue, it helps to unwind that so that you change like your ability to like stand and have like better postural alignment, something of that nature. But if you really want to go deep into like psychological change, working with sulfur, it will get you there. I mean, like I said, I wore it in a medicine bag for a while, and then I was like, yeah, I need a break. And it's been a long, I still have those stones, but it's been a long time since I've worn them. I'm probably
That's
gonna go
good.
crack those out here after this session tonight, by the way.
Oh, good. So I
Yeah,
just sent you and Sam a photo of my
yeah.
stone. And I
Some
walked
of
into
those
this,
crystals are amazingly beautiful. Like they're just crazy. And they're just like you said, like they look like they came off of, Big Bird. Like they're just brilliant yellow and little crystalline things. And
well, this looks like Big Bird's hair, like the top
yeah,
of his head. I just sent you and Sam a photo of it, but
nice.
I walked up to the lady at the shop yesterday and I said, please do not take what I'm about to say to you as being rude, but is this real? Like it just seems so
Yeah, 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 yeah,
so yellow. And she
yeah,
just laughed and she's like, it is. And she's like,
yeah,
go ahead and smell it. If you can
yeah.
just get close and smell it,
I,
you can
I
tell.
have, I have, you know how in quartz they'll have like a little cluster.
Mhm.
I have like a sulfur cluster that's about as big as my hand, and it's just got little things, like little sulfur crystalline things that comes up. It looks like it's a quartz cluster that somebody spray painted yellow.
Yeah, it then you know what we might have it sounds like I've got a twin of what you just said.
Yeah, yeah,
It's as big as my hand, it's super
yeah,
big, and then
yeah,
it flares.
yeah. Good for you.
By the way,
I
violet
would
heat.
use it a bunch. I would use it a bunch. So here's the other thing, like talking about like we'll just do hypotheticals. Like say you have some project at work, and it's hard getting the team to jump on board, right? So one way of looking at it is if you use oils that are like more orangey in color, um, or like a darker orange stone, like a darker orange citrine, it stimulates enthusiasm in the people around you. It calms down the thought forms that are coming in. It helps you to be like more one pointed, and it stirs enthusiasm in the people. So like, okay, let's move this project going. But sometimes, be it that it's like people's opinions and things like this, where the project's just not moving forward. And so like when I would go in and do corporate work, they would tell me details, but I was like, let's just blast it with light and see what happens. Like the problem will come to the surface because the light is the fuel or the gasoline for movement and the evolutionary process wherever you're directing it. So having a piece of sulfur that you whip out and you put on your desk in the middle of that meeting means this is moving forward, whether we like it or not. And whatever the problem is, it'll come to the surface. We can address it.
Can I just to confirm, to work with this, I know I'm not supposed to put water on it, but can I just place it next to me?
Yeah.
Is that working with it?
Place it next to you, place it on, by your desk. Um, um, you could do that, like even in a meeting. One of the things that I used to do in the meetings was I would usually use like a sphere of something and make it look like a decoration on the, how they have the meeting table in the conference room. I would
Mhm.
stick it on there, maybe stick some flowers around it or a little something. You could make some little decoration, just stick it right in the middle of the table and make it just look like it's some, kitschy, like stick it by a bonsai tree or something and just stick it there and let it do its magic. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to do that stuff all the time. Like have like a little pot that like you could put a little plant in and you stick a stone in, and you do a little bit of energy thing, you diffuse some oils, and the meeting always seemed to go where it needed to go.
Okay. By the way, Violet Healer, I think, has MSM in it as well.
I'd have to check, but it sounds accurate. Yeah.
The body tonic, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sulfur is interesting because sometimes it will put off like an orangish prana. Sometimes it will put off a yellowish prana that has like a magnifying or triggering effect, and sometimes it's a violet. It kind of depends on how you're using it and what's around it.
Are you able to tell what energy or color mine projects?
It'll do all three. Depending on how you use it, it will do all three.
Okay.
Yeah. Most times I would say it's like a kind of a yellowy kind of prana, but not the kind that comes from the basic, it comes from the crown. There's times where it's raising the vibration of an area and it's more violet. But when it's deeply, deeply purifying, it's orange.
I know the throat and the solar plexus are two energy centers I've been focusing quite a bit on in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's one we all gotta work those.
Well, thank
Like,
you.
and if you're working the throat, be sure to work the back throat too.
Yep.
The back throat, the throat is more lower consciousness or lower mental. The back throat is pre-conscious, like pre-conscious mental. Like it's not in your brain, but if you go, what were we doing last week? And you pull it up, it's in your pre-conscious mind. And so even when we're doing that materialization breath, when we're going like this, you're working lower mind, pre-conscious mind, lower mind, pre-conscious mind. And then you're working forehead, back head, where you're cleaning up the thought forms. And so any version of that is very, very good. Yeah.
Thank you for all of that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes with your sulfur. That's quite a little treat.
Yeah, it's I sent you a photo, so you should have it in your email the next time you check.
Oh, nice.